Hello again, my name is Saib and welcome to the third episode of this Canvas game development series. And in this episode we're gonna go over to how exactly we can draw rectangles and squares and maybe triangles at the end. So let's just remove everything that we did in the last episode, this one, okay. So to draw rectangles we have to use there's two ways to actually draw rectangles. The first one is to use the rect method, in which if we call the context.rect method, in this one we have to specify the x and y coordinates for the starting point from where actually we want to draw that rectangle, and we have to specify the width and the height of the rectangle. So let's say that I want to start at the top left, in which is 0 and 0 for the x and y coordinates, and I want to give it a width of 100 and a height of 200, for instance, 100 and 200. So now you can see that nothing exactly showed up. That's something that we have to call a stroke or fill functions in order to actually see this one. So this rect just specifies the path for this rectangle, but to actually outline it or fill this one, we have to call the stroke or fill. So same as line 2 and move 2 in that we did in the previous episode. So now let's just call the stroke to actually see this shape outline, see this way, or we can actually just call fill that way, just to refresh and fill. Okay. So and we can change the fill color same as before, as we say, and we can just say green, for instance. Yeah. So this is a way of drawing a rectangle, and there is another way of doing that in which we don't have to call stroke or fill, in which is a quicker way to actually doing that. We can just say fill rect. This fill rect function is going to do the same, but we have to change the color for that one. Let's say fill stroke, fill style, and we can go to green. Yeah, this is one way, and we can actually do just a stroke rect, same thing. It's going to be black now. We can just change the stroke style to green to actually see the green border or outline for this shape. So okay, now let's try to draw another rectangle, let's say at the middle of this canvas area. So I can just go and call the fill rect again. I can just go to 15, which is in the middle of the canvas. We can just give it a 50 by 50. Now this is a square, since it has the width and the height is exactly the same and all of the sides are exactly the same. So this is a square. So there's no built-in function for squares. It goes exactly with the rect method, since squares are just rectangles with whose sides are exactly the same. So yeah. Okay, so let's use the rect method again to actually just finish with this one. So let's say that I want to specify a starting point at the end of our canvas, in which is 500 and 500. So I want to give the rect a width of 100 and a height of 400. Okay, so we have to call fill again, since the rect only specifies the path. So if I just said fill, now you can see that the rectangle didn't show up, but it actually got drawn. But the problem is that the rectangle is out of this canvas area. So if we just subtracted the x coordinates with the width of the rectangle and subtracted the y-axis with the height, so we can just simply end this one, and I hope that makes sense. We just actually pushed all of that in further to actually see this one. But if the initial way that we did before actually specifying these values, you can see that this rectangle got drawn outside of this canvas area. That's why it wasn't actually visible to us. So yeah. Okay, now that's everything I think you should know about rectangles and how to draw them. And let's now look into how we can draw triangles. Now there's no built-in functions for triangles. There's no triangle function. So how we can do that is just by using line 2 and move 2. So if I just removed everything from this, just to clear the canvas, I can just now say context, specify an initial point, and let's go that I want to go to 100 and 100 for the x and y coordinates. Now I'm at a point where it's nearly, I think it's here. So let's say that I want to draw a triangle that goes with like this. So I can just now move down further the y-axis while staying in the same 100 for the x coordinates. So I can just say context line 2. Can just say 100 and 300. We can call stroke in order to actually see the lines. This may help us in. Okay, so yeah. So okay, now if we just go further into the x with the x coordinates, increase the values for this one. So we can just say context line 2 300, and we can stay at the same level of for the y-axis. For the y-axis, we can just go that way. And now we can go back to the same point, in which is 100 and 100 by using line 2, or we can use close path, in which is an easier way to do that. So I can just say close path. And we can just fill this one with, let's specify a line width for that one. You can actually see this one. And we can call give it a fill style for actually, okay, let's say blue one. And we can call fill to actually fill this shape. I have to refresh this one. Okay, now we have a triangle. Sorry. Okay, now let's talk about drawing multiple things, because so far we've been just drawing one shape at a time, or shapes that have the same color and the same stroke for all of them. So let's say that I want to draw a rectangle here. I can just call fill rect to actually draw a quicker way to draw a rectangle. So I can just say this one, let's say 400 for the x-axis and 200 for the y-axis, and I can just say 100 and 100 for, this is a square, so right here, this is the starting point. So let's say that I want to give this rectangle a different color. Okay, you may say that we can actually specify a fill style, and I can just give it red, for instance. You can see, because we're using fill rect is going to follow any fill style that comes before this one. But if I actually used rect, for instance, it's not going to actually show up. I can call fill again. Now this fill function is going to just try to refresh that one and call fill. Okay, so this goes like this, sorry. Okay, now you can see that both of the shapes got filled with red, since fill uses the latest fill style that it can see. So if you looked at this one, if I change this one to blue, for instance, both of them are going to be blue, even if I specify this one to be red. See, nothing changed. I can just change red and it will be changed from the latest fill style. So how we can actually solve that is by using begin path. Now, why do we exactly need to use begin path? Begin path just tells the canvas that a new shape is about to be drawn, and this new shape has its own drawing properties, its own line width, its own filled color or stroke color. And let's give this rect another begin path. Now, since both of them now are treated as new shapes for the canvas, so if I can just took the fill style and actually put it before the fill, you can see that, and we can change this one for blue. Now you can see that both of the shapes have different fill style. That's because we're using begin path. So if I just remove this begin path from this one, you can see that both of the shapes are gonna follow the fill style, the latest fill style. By doing like this, okay. Let's say that I want to do another rectangle here, not a square, that has different color or different stroke. So I can just call context. I can just say now begin path, since I'm doing a new shape with its own color and its own stroke and line width. So I can just say now context rect. Okay, so I want this one to be at the end of our canvas. We can just say 300, since the width and the height is going to be 100, I can just say 400 and 200. I can just give it 50 and 50. So if let's say that I want the color to be actually green, so I can just say, okay, now I can call fill, so I can actually see the rect. Okay, so if I refresh that one, you can actually see, okay, we used exactly the same point as that one. So I can just move further for this one, to just say 400, so that it moves down. Okay, Okay, now this rectangle, as we can see, has different colors. Since we're using begin path, we can give it a stroke as well. Context dot stroke. Okay, we can specify the line width for this one to be different than the previous one, in which is we didn't exactly specify a line width. Okay, so we can just say line width. I want this one to be 5. See, now this is different than the line width for that one. So yeah, when we want to draw multiple shapes, we have to use begin path just to tell the canvas that we want to draw a new shape, and so that the drawing properties don't bleed into each other and cause this mashup, or all of them like have the same color and the same stroke or line width. So yeah, I think this is it for this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.